for melodic heavy metal. Playing it heavier, louder, raunchier, faster. 99.1 CJAM. This is the Signals of Intuition.
We could have everything.
99.1 CJAM-FM, 2 tracks in a row back-to-back from the brand new Queensryche album Frequency Unknown. That was Everything, remixed right here in Windsor by Glenn Fricker of Spectre Sound, and before that we had Cold, the lead-off single from that record. And right now on the line we have Mr. Geoff Tate of Queensryche. He's going to be sticking around for a little bit of the show, so let's see if we can get Geoff Tate on the line right now.
Hi, this is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. It's Brandon from CJAM-FM in Windsor, Detroit. How are you doing?
Hey, you're doing good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. So I understand you guys are on a bit of a break from touring right now before you go out on a second leg. How's the tour been going so far?
The tour's been going great. Really great. We started out in Colorado and worked our way west out to California and then back to Texas, all playing shows along the way. And it's been a fantastic tour so far. It's a pretty challenging set list we're doing. You know, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Operation Mindcrime, so we're playing that entire record in the show, and that, of course, poses a whole bunch of musical challenges. You know, it's a pretty in-depth record to present live, but the band's playing great, and everyone in the band is very enthusiastic about playing the music, and we're having a good time.
That's fantastic. What sort of production are you bringing with this version of the show? Are you doing it similar to like the 2006 show with actors and elaborate stage, or is it a bit more raw this time around?
This performance of Mindcrime is really based on the music. It's a real live performance where we're performing all the music live. In the past, Queensryche has really relied heavily on click tracks and pre-recorded elements to the show, like all the backing vocals and sound effects and orchestrations and things like that. And this is the first time that I've ever performed Mindcrime live, where we're performing every bit of music live right there. So it's a whole different kind of presentation for me, and I think the audience too. They sense that it's human, and it has a human feel to it, which I think is incredibly exciting, and judging by the audience response so far, it's really coming across that way.
Yeah, it's I saw you play on your solo tour, and you guys sort of took that same approach, where you sort of stripped everything down and just went out as a raw band live. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely in my bucket list of things to do in life is to play music where it's unfettered by computers and click tracks and things like that. I really have had, my experience with that in the past, and although it's very effective, and it's a certain kind of presentation. For me, I wanted to feel, the energy of the band, and to feel what that's like, and so I'm having a great time presenting music this way. It's a first for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I know you're going to be in Detroit on June 15th, so I really look forward to seeing the show presented in a totally new way that I've never seen it before.
Great.
So would you mind if we sort of step back and I ask you a couple of questions about your earlier career, and then we kind of dive into what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So growing up, who were some of your earliest musical influences?
Well, I grew up in that wonderful period of time, the 60s and the 70s,
mm-hmm.
which for music meant that there was a lot of different kinds of music out there. Pop music wasn't packaged and genreified like it is now. So, we were exposed to everything, from Otis Redding and the Supremes to, the Beatles and the Stones to, Jefferson Airplane and later on with the folk movement that was happening, and Dylan and Joan Baez and all this. So you heard everything,
mm-hmm.
And so my musical palette is pretty varied. You know, I think I have something like 10,000 albums in my collection.
Oh my God! Wow.
Of music. And I pull from a lot of different sources. You know, now musically and vocally, I kind of look at them a little differently. You know, musically, I was very into early jazz and classical music too, because that's what I studied in school, and I became very enamored with that. And vocally, you know, I love soul music and R&B and the kind of expression you can do with your voice with a good gospel piece, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I have, you know, a lot of different things that influence me, you know, musically and vocally.
In the original Kerrang review of the Queensryche EP, it says that you were trained by Ann Wilson's vocal coach. Are you classically trained, or like how'd you get started as a singer?
Yeah, that's how I kind of started. Well, I started as a singer just like everybody, you know, in the shower, you know, singing along to, you know, your favorite records, which is one thing. But then when you decide, well, I'm going to try to do this in a live performance, that's a whole different thing, because, you know, your voice is, you know, stressed, you know, quite a bit. So I found, you know, that I was losing my voice, you know, halfway through a performance, you know, because I was singing incorrectly and I didn't have the right support and the power and the training. So I got instruction, you know, from a fantastic vocal teacher based out of Seattle here named David Kyle, who is unfortunately since passed a few years back. But what a long, illustrious career he's had. You know, he was in New York for many, many years and trained all kinds of vocalists and the stage performers, and even was the voice instructor for Johnny Carson.
Oh, wow.
Back then. So, yeah, he was very well known. And anyway, he really helped me find my voice, you know, and find and learn what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So in addition to being a singer, you also play, I know, piano and sax. Do you play any other instruments, like guitar or anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, now jumping ahead to Rage for Order for just a second, I was listening to an interview with Neil Kernan a little while ago, and he was talking about a bunch of the different influences you guys were listening to at that time, like a lot of electronic music. Was that, you know, were you very much sort of engaged in the whole 80s scene with new wave and sort of like Skinny Puppy and that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, when the band formed, Chris and I came up with this philosophy that we felt about the music, and that is music without limits. You know, we wanted to write music without the confines of other people dictating what it was they thought we should sound like. You know, we wanted to have the freedom to keep reinventing ourselves and trying different things and bringing all these different influences into our art. And after recording our first EP in The Warning, he and I were talking about how we thought that those albums were pretty derivative of what was happening in the hard rock scene. You know, they weren't stretching out too much. And we really wanted to try to you know, stretch out more with our music, and that's why we enlisted Neil at the time, because Neil worked on all kinds of different things and had kind of a pretty immense and varied background, you know.
Yeah, Hall & Oates and all sorts of different things.
Yeah, so he had a pop consciousness, you know. He also had a experimental experience, you know, musically, just a lot of different things, and so we wanted that influence in our record, because we were planning something that was pretty avant-garde for the time, you know.
Oh, for sure.
And we were talking, you know, we're talking about going out and creating sounds, you know, and taking these created sounds and incorporating them into, you know, a classic musical structure. And that hadn't been done much, or if any, at the time. And so Neil was very up to that. You know, he was very, very excited about the possibilities of what we could create together. And so we came up with Rage for Order, which, if you listen back to it, you can hear that it's, you know, definitely influenced by, you know, I guess it's the mid-'80s industrial musical movement. You know, you hear a lot of jazz chords in there. And so it's a combination of a lot of different types of music all brought into one, you know.
Now, you guys also covered Lisa Del Bello's "Gonna Get Close to You," and is it true that she was slated to be the first Sister Mary before you guys got Pamela Moore?
We wanted to have her as Sister Mary, yeah, but our schedules were in conflict and couldn't make that happen.
Oh, I see. So, Geoff, can I get you to pick 2 songs off of Operation Mindcrime right now, since you're touring for the 25th anniversary of it?
Yeah. How about "I Don't Believe in Love"?
Okay, and one more?
And "Breaking the Silence."
Oh, great choice. Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite tune on the album. All right, so here we go. This is Queensryche with "Breaking the Silence," and we'll be back with more Geoff Tate. 99.1 CJAM-FM. There's 2 tracks from Queensryche off of Operation Mindcrime right there. That's "I Don't Believe in Love" and "Breaking the Silence." Right now on the line, we've got Geoff Tate, the singer of Queensryche, and they're currently touring for the 25th anniversary of Mindcrime. They're going to be hitting Detroit on June 15th at the Fillmore. And Geoff, before we dive into your recent activities the last year or two, this next question is something I've wanted to know for years. I remember reading in a magazine or online or somewhere around the time that you guys did Promised Land that you'd been offered the lead vocalist spot in Queen after the death of Freddie Mercury. Is there any truth to that?
No, I wish there was. Yeah, I would love that opportunity. I think I've been inspired by Queen's music for all my life, and a fantastic band and great musicians and very, very unique sounding music.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a band that's taken from a lot of different influences and worked them into something uniquely their own.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely hear a lot of Queensryche coming out of that band.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Do you take from Freddie as a performer at all?
Perhaps. Freddie had a sort of a very grandiose stage persona, and I've definitely been described as that. So perhaps, yeah. I had I was very fortunate to see Queen live a couple times before Freddie passed. So yeah, I was probably influenced by his stage persona at some point. Yeah, it's funny how you don't realize that stuff until you see yourself in a photo or on video doing something, that's reminiscent of somebody else. Yeah, wow, where did I get that? Like my wife and I, we were watching Robert Plant perform several years ago at a show in Seattle, and we were sitting there watching the show and really enjoying it. Robert Plant's a great performer and great singer, and he's doing these kind of like movements, and I leaned over to my wife and I went, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. It's so cliche." And then I stopped myself and remembered who I was talking about. This is a guy that invented that move. He's the one that everybody else copied and became a cliche. Their performance became a cliche based upon his originality.
So last October, you released a solo album, Kings and Thieves. I mean, given everything that's happened the last few months, it seems like 3 years ago it came out. But how did that whole album come together?
Like every record, you start with an idea, and that idea leads you to another one, and another one, and another one, and until you have, a collection of different ideas, and then you figure out how you're going to present them.
Mm-hmm. Was it always planned? Like, did you always plan to go back and do another solo record?
Oh yeah. I'm working on a new one now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love working. I love making music. I love writing music, and it's what I do, And I like to work pretty intensely, And the biggest problem I always had with Queensryche was that it was difficult to keep everybody focused on what the goal was, and so it would take 2 years between a record, and I can't stand that. I could do 3 or 4 records in 2 years, So I work at a pretty rapid pace, and I like to keep moving. It's the way I communicate, and the way I see the world is through musical terms. So it's the way I guess I communicate best.
Mm-hmm.
As you can probably tell by my rambling conversation here.
No, Geoff, it's great because it lets you do most of the talking instead of me having to get the cattle prod out, so it's perfect. Now I know on your solo tour you got to do not only your own solo stuff, which obviously only gets played when you do that kind of a tour, but also a lot of lesser played Queensryche tracks. How is it sort of dusting off the old tracks?
Well, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love doing that. It's songs I wrote, so it's always nice to perform stuff that you've written. Especially when you have an idea that it applies to a certain time frame and that kind of thing. It's fun to bring that out,
Mm-hmm.
Dust it off, like you said, and present it in a new way. I that's the one thing I love about songwriting and performing is that you can write a song a certain way, and then you can also present it live in a whole bunch of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's only limited by your imagination. A good song stands up, whether it's played, whether it's presented, with a acoustic guitar and a vocal or a 16-piece band. It's just all depending upon how you imagine it and how you execute it.
And now looking ahead to sort of what you've got going on right now, I know the story's been told time and time again about the split with Queensryche, but did you see any of the signs that the band was going to fracture the way it did, or did it sort of take you by surprise?
No, it was really out of the blue. It was really kind of a punch to the side of the head, really. Wasn't expecting it, didn't see it coming, and when it did, it just unraveled incredibly quickly, So, yeah, a bit of a shock, and I have to admit, the first few months of the whole thing happening were very difficult, to deal with. It's an organization that, I was instrumental in building over the years, and, what you hear in these songs is my life,
Mm-hmm.
my interpretation of life and my thoughts, my fears, my desires, and so having it all come apart like this is quite catastrophic on your head, and in your mind. You have to kind of take a little time to do some soul searching and figure out how you're gonna get through it and move on, and now I'm really in a great place. I've ripped off the rearview mirror, and I'm moving ahead and not looking back, and very happy.
Oh, good, great. I'm glad to hear you're in a better place, and I think sort of everyone's found their way to move on in both camps of Queensryche. So right now I've got to go to another break. Can I get you to pick two songs off of your latest solo album, Kings and Thieves?
Yeah, trying to remember what's on that record. How about a song called The Way I Roll?
Okay.
And what else is on that record?
How about Dark Money, the first single?
Oh, yeah, okay. How about Dark Money?
Okay. And can I also get you to pick two songs from your first solo record?
Helpless. And,
oh, great. Yep, that's probably my favorite tune on the record.
Oh, good. And how about Off the TV?
Oh, cool. Yep, love that one as well. All right, so we'll be back with more Geoff Tate after this, but for now, from his first solo album, this is Helpless.
Dark money will determine who has won.
99.1 CJAM-FM. There's two tracks there from Geoff Tate's new solo album, Kings and Thieves. That's the first single, Dark Money, and before that we had The Way I Roll. And from Geoff's first solo album in 2002, we had Off the TV and Helpless. And right now on the line, we've got Geoff Tate, the singer of Queensryche, and we're going to be switching gears away from his solo work, and let's talk about the new album. So right now, you've got a new album out called Frequency Unknown, and I was wondering if you could talk about how this whole album sort of came together and how you got a bunch of well-known artists to perform on it, like KK Downing, Simon Wright, and others.
Yeah. Well, it was a record that came together very quickly and very organically, and had so much energy behind it through the whole project. And I think that's because everybody that was involved with it was really into it. It wasn't like you were having to pull somebody along. They were there on time, asking questions, getting involved, throwing out ideas, and so it just came together very quickly, which was wonderful. I like working in a collaborative effort with a bunch of people that are enthusiastic, So yeah, it was a great experience. It started with Jason Slater, who's a gentleman I've worked with in the past, making records and Jason wrote on this record with me and also produced it. And Randy Gain, my longtime friend and keyboard player and writer, and a new writer that I just met a couple months ago named Lucas Rossi.
Oh.
The four of us got together and created...
Oh, Rockstar Supernova.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Which I didn't know about till way later, till after the record was done. I didn't really know what his background was. I just know that we hit it off musically right away and got along personally very well. But the four of us got together and created the music and wrote the songs. And then when it came time to record, we thought it'd be really fun and interesting to get kind of an array of different people to play on it, and let them kind of interpret our music, in their own way. So in theory, it was a great idea, but then in practicality, it was quite a challenge, I have to say, orchestrating it all, because everybody that's involved with it is a pretty well-known musician, and, they have, commitments to other, projects they're doing, and most of them have a main gig that they do. So getting everybody in the same place at the same time was really a scheduling challenge.
Was it largely orchestrated by the internet? Like, was it sort of like KK records in England and sends it to you, or did all these guys come into the studio?
KK's the only one that didn't come in personally because he was in England, and we did everything over the phone and then transferring files, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it was the way things are nowadays. It is kind of cool because right when he was recording, I'm talking to him on the phone, and he's got me on speakerphone. He's playing me this line. He goes, "Well, I'm thinking about this melody line over this section here. What do you think?" And you play it, and "Oh yeah, I like that. But if you twist it at the end and go down a third, let me try that. Okay, yeah, well, okay, let's." And we just kind of walk through the whole idea, and then when he'd get it recorded, he'd send it off to us.
Yeah.
But everybody else made it into the studio, and we worked that way, kind of the old-fashioned way where you bang it out, in real time.
Now, are you going to be playing any of the new songs out live, or are you just sticking mostly to hits like Silent Lucidity and that kind of thing?
Well, we haven't put any of the new songs into the set yet because we were waiting, till the record came out. But actually, Monday is our first rehearsal day with everyone, so we're going to get together and work on some new material to add to the set.
Oh, fantastic! Do you have any idea of what songs you'd like to put in?
I've got kind of a list, but that's always really determined by, everybody's input and how it all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Some songs are really difficult to play live.
Yeah, for sure.
For a number of different reasons. And some songs just kind of come together very easily, So I remember there was a song called Anybody Listening from the Empire album. And we worked on that song for years before we played it live because we just could not get it,
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, when you listen to it, it seems like kind of a simple piece, but there's timing changes in it that are weird. There's dynamics in it that are very subtle that you have to try to accomplish live. And it's not an easy song to do live, but it took us probably, I think, 3 years of working on it before we felt it was ready to play live,
Oh, wow. So when this tour when this leg of the tour wraps up, what do you have coming up? Obviously, you said you're working on some new material. Are you guys going to continue touring, say, over in Europe or somewhere, or what is the future?
Yeah, we are booked right now up until November, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's going to be quite a long tour, and we're going to be hitting Europe and South America, and probably back to the States again, and perhaps even we haven't gone up into West Canada yet. So that's awaiting us as well.
Oh, fantastic. I have friends out in that part of the country who would definitely be looking forward to seeing you. Well, Geoff, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview. I know you've got to run.
Oh, my pleasure.
Before I let you go, can you pick 3 songs off the new album?
Yeah. Okay. How about how about In the Hands of God? I like that one quite a bit.
Oh, great. Love that one.
And are you playing anything yet from it? Like, I think our first single was Cold.
Yeah. I've been playing Cold for the last couple of weeks.
So something different than that. Is a long song out of the question?
Oh, no, this is a 2-hour time slot, and we've still got quite a bit of time left, so you can feel free to pick anything you want.
Oh, okay. I'd like you to play a song called The Weight of the World.
Oh, cool. I love that one. Yeah, that's a fantastic tune.
I really like that one. That one turned out nice. How about a song called Dare?
Awesome. Okay. And finally, can I get you to pick one song that you feel sort of summarizes your whole career? It can be a solo tune, it could be Queensryche, anything you kind of feel sort of summarizes what you're all about as an artist. Yeah, I know this is probably a pretty tall order to try and think of everything you've done.
Yeah, I think one of my all-time favorite Queensryche songs was on the last Queensryche record before this new one, an album called Dedicated to Chaos, and there's a song called Big Noise.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tunes off Dedicated to Chaos, so right on.
Yeah, me too. That's one of the... That song was so difficult to write, but it came out so good. In fact, it's one of the few... I don't listen to a lot of my music, after I write it, and spend, months writing it and all that. I kind of, move on to the next thing. But I do come back to that song quite a bit. There's something about it that I really love, and maybe it was how difficult it was to write that I love so much. I don't know. It's funny when you write a song and you record it, you're making it, and you go through all these head trips and challenges to make it happen, and then when it's done and you're listening to it, you get stuck on certain details about the song, like maybe the echo on a certain line, you struggle with it and you're just unsure if it's right, but you're running out of time, so you got to make a commitment, so you do. And then you fret about it in the mix because you keep hearing it differently than what is there, And then over time, you listen to the song again and you've forgotten what it was that was bugging you about it. You don't hear it the same way anymore, which is really kind of a blessing.
Yeah. All right, Geoff. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this.
Oh, my pleasure.
I want to let you know that Take Hold of the Flame totally changed my life when I heard that song. I heard the opening vocal part of that, and I just sat there and went, I have to learn how to do this. So,
oh, well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I thank you so much for the music you've created over the years and for taking the time out to do this.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks again, Geoff.
Okay.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much, Geoff. That was Geoff from Queensryche, and they'll be playing June 15th at the Fillmore, and we're going to finish out the show now by playing a bunch of Queensryche and solo Geoff Tate. Let's kick everything off from their brand new album, Frequency Unknown. This is In the Hands of God.